Kamikaze drones are also being used on the front line of the war. So far Kyiv has focused its counter-offensive in the southeast of Ukraine. Now it's hoping to split the areas you see in red here occupied by Moscow to reach the sea, but progress has been slow, whereas in the northeast of the Ukraine Russia itself is pushing forward towards Kupiansk and Lyman. Our correspondent Quinton Somerville reports now from the Eastern Front, where he spent the last few weeks speaking to Ukrainian soldiers and civilians who are being bombarded by Russian artillery. The battle on Ukraine's Eastern Front has reawakened. It's in these fields and trenches that the conflict now burns at its hottest. Ukraine says there's been a lot of Russian activity in this area over the past couple of days. In fact, there were air